Hello, COMM 450 students. Happy Monday morning. This is Sister Higgins. Welcome to week 7. You are halfway through the semester and only 2 weeks away from the midterm, which I know everyone's excited about. And we're going to talk about that a bit in a minute. So this week, we are going to be taking a series of assessments that help everyone to understand what your primary and secondary conflict styles are. So how your conflict management style is. And it's important to understand it's not always one extreme or the other. So like here, silence or violence are not the only options. So we tend to think that it's in extremes, but there are a lot of other ways to handle conflict. So before we get into that, please just make sure you're looking at the outcomes and the competencies as well as the activity list, as I've mentioned, each week. So you see what the goals are for each week, what you should be learning, and also what activities you need to make sure that you're completing by the due dates. So there are 5 primary types of conflict management. And for people that are more assertive or have the more strong personalities, they can tend to be more competing. And those that are more passive could be avoiding. And sometimes they go to accommodating, where they just give in to the other person to avoid having any contention and conflict. They just accommodate and give in. And others just avoid conflict altogether. So then there's compromising that's in the middle, but that's where both people don't really get exactly what they're hoping for, but they're willing to come to some kind of compromise. The ideal is collaboration, where both people are willing to communicate and have equal power in the conflict and come up with a win-win situation. So why is this important? Well, as I have reviewed this material, I've come up with 2 reasons for why this is so important. One, it will help you know how you will handle different situations. So for me, I know that I become competitive. I compete for power in contentious conflict. So if I feel that my power is being threatened in a relationship and people aren't hearing my point of view, I become competing. I compete to have that power. And so I know that that is my primary conflict style when I know my goal should be collaboration. So I need to take a step back and try and strive for how can I have open communication and strive for a win-win. And that's the second bullet is you will learn how to strive for collaboration. So if we can recognize our weaknesses, if we can recognize what our primary conflict style is and try to stop that, then that is going to help us to strive for the ideal. Okay, so the principle of error. This is not in your textbook. This is on the midterm, and Brother Bean talks about it in his podcast. So I would highly recommend that you listen to his podcast and understand the principle of error. So this is the importance of understanding the tactics that we use. And why this is important is when we move away from collaboration, the direction that we move towards is our primary conflict style. So for me, if I am striving for collaboration and it's not working, I am going to go back to that competing conflict style. And that's the principle of error, is when we go back to that primary conflict style. So please make sure you're listening to Brother Bean's podcast. Okay, so coming soon for next week, we will be doing a marshmallow challenge. This will be a group activity. I also will have a secondary activity if it's difficult for you to be able to have access to the necessary supplies. So make sure you're prepared for that. And then the midterm will be coming up. So I wanted to just talk briefly about the midterm. So some helpful hints. So the first attempt will be open at the very end of week 8 and will be open into week 9. And this is a timed test. It's 90 minutes. It's 48 questions. It has short answer, fill in the blank, multiple choice, and essay questions. It's through Proctorio, so it is not open book or open notes. And so make sure that you are studying for this. Now, I will be offering a midterm review session during week 8. And also, I will be sending out a study guide at the beginning of week 8. So I highly recommend that you take good notes and you study. Now, after I have graded all of the midterms, we're going to do a second attempt. So you will be able to take the midterm a second time. You will be able to see which questions you got incorrect, and so you can study for those questions, and then you'll take the midterm again. You'll be able to fill in the questions that you got correct with the same answers from the first time, but then fill in the correct answers. And then you will get partial credit for the questions that you get correct the second time. The second attempt is not required, but it is an option for you if you'd like to try and improve your grade so that you can take it a second time after I've recorded and graded the first section. So please make sure that you're prepared for the midterm. First chance is closed book, closed notes. A second attempt will be for partial credit and will be open book, open notes. Both will be 90 minutes. And then I'll be sending out more information as we go. So please just make sure that you're taking the time to prepare, that you're reviewing your captures that you've been taking every week since week 2, and that you're reviewing your notes and taking those practice quizzes. If you have any questions about anything this week, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, and have a great week.